It's bullshit. The CEO of Microsoft just admitted in front of the world's elite that he wants ordinary people like you and me to pay more for electricity so he can remain competitive. Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella was at Davos this week, and he had a message for world leaders. The bottleneck for AI isn't chips anymore, it's electricity and water. His pitch to government was that they must invest in energy and water infrastructure or they'll get left behind.
To me, a long-term scalable solution is to have all of these token factories, part of the real economy, connected to the grid, connected to the telco network, delivering, just like we delivered bits, you have to deliver tokens plus bits. And that's kind of what's going to drive an at scale, whether it's in the global south or on the developed world.
In other words, he wants public money to power profits in order to generate yet unquantified social benefits. Now, don't get me wrong, I think AI is amazing and transformative, and I'm one of the strongest advocates for using AI to improve business processes. But if, like me, you live in a country where electricity prices have skyrocketed in recent years, you might not be too pleased with this. But that's what's being discussed right now. So let's break this down. AI data centers now use more water than some small cities. And the CEO of Microsoft said that's only the beginning. Nadella's big admission at Davos that the AI bottleneck has shifted means that it's no longer about chips, it's about electricity and water. He called these areas the final frontiers of AI development. So we're talking about gigawatts of power for GPUs and millions of litres of water for cooling. This is a time where communities worldwide are facing rising energy bills and water scarcity. Now, Nadella himself acknowledged the tension. He said that AI risks becoming a speculative bubble unless it can deliver real improvements in health, education, and public services. But here's what struck me. He's asking the governments to build the infrastructure now, promising that these benefits will come later. Isn't that backwards? Have we not built enough infrastructure now to work out whether this is just a party trick or technology that can deliver real value in people's lives? Shouldn't we prove AI is useful first and then decide whether the trade-offs are worth it? Every tech CEO says you need AI to stay competitive. But competitive at what? Nobody ever seems to answer that question. Countries need AI to stay competitive. Companies need AI to stay competitive. When a tech CEO says competitiveness, they're speaking to investors and policymakers in language that sounds urgent but stays conveniently vague. What it actually means is lower labour costs, higher productivity, bigger margins. Now that's okay, that's business, right? I have no issue with that. But what I do have an issue with is for the average person watching their energy bill climb, competitiveness doesn't answer the basic question, what's in it for me and what's in it for my community? Nadella mentioned health, education, public services, all noble ambitions. But until those benefits actually materialise, competitiveness is just a word that means somebody else is winning and you're paying for it. And I think that's bullshit. Big tech's favourite trick is to build the technology first, then spend years convincing you that you needed it all along. They have a long history of hunting for problems that technology might solve. And sometimes they find real ones. In fact, many great inventions often find their place after 2 or 3 iterations, but also many don't. So I'm wondering whether Nadella just did the same thing at Davos. He told governments, restructure your energy policy around AI. He told companies, put all your institutional knowledge into our AI models. And if you both do that, you'll remain competitive. So what evidence did he offer? Well, he didn't give examples of how healthcare was transformed. He didn't give efficiency gains about how it's improving public services. He just provided economic projections and competitive anxiety. In other words, if you don't do this, somebody else will and you'll be left behind. Now that's not a use case, that's a threat dressed up as an opportunity. I live in Australia, and it's a country that's really struggling with energy policy. Although we sit on enormous reserves of coal and uranium, the voters don't want to build any more power stations. So now we're scrambling to meet our Paris obligations. And now big tech comes along and wants us to find even more energy. When Nadella tells world leaders to reorganize their energy systems around I always wonder, where the hell is this power going to come from? And for countries like Australia, this isn't an abstract idea. It's a serious collision between climate commitments, which we as a country have made, energy affordability, which is a real issue for voters, and new demand from tech giants that didn't exist 5 years ago. Many families I know are already struggling with power bills. Australia has been blessed with vast natural resources, and up until now, we've had very cheap energy. But in the last decade, the basic cost of living has started spiraling out of control for many people. So how on earth do we justify gigawatts of new electricity for data centers when we haven't even solved the basics yet? Satya Nadella wants countries to reorganize their energy grids for AI. And I think the community needs to be asking harder questions. And look, I'm not anti-AI. In fact, I strongly believe in the transformative power of AI, and I work with it every day. I find it genuinely useful for many complex problems. And Nadella is not wrong about energy and water infrastructure. The cloud AI model is a massive beast that demands these resources. But it may not be the model that we have going forward. So there's something really uncomfortable about watching the CEO of one of the world's most valuable companies tell the entire global elite to reorganize their infrastructure around his industry, while admitting that the industry hasn't yet proven that it deserves what it's asking for. The case for massive public investment should not be made at Davos. It should be earned. It should be earned by showing ordinary people that their lives are getting better and letting them decide whether it's worth the cost of investing in infrastructure. And until we can do that, we really should be asking harder questions about who is actually benefiting from this AI energy race. I'd love to know what you think. Do you believe that AI has earned its social license? Please let me know in the comments below.